Entrepreneurs Live features my friend Tammy Gooler Loeb. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you, Marie. I'm happy to be here.
And of course, as always, this is sponsored by Restream. Restream is a multi-streaming platform app. So I think we're live right now on Facebook, Business Facebook, and also YouTube. So Tammy, I know you drink coffee. How do you drink your coffee?
For someone who loves really strong coffee, might disappoint a few people, but I actually put skim milk in it.
Oh, okay.
I drink it with skim milk. It's my favorite coffee mug, and I put a little skim milk in it. That's it. But boy, do I love it strong.
I don't know that that's a disappointment. I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, I'm glad.
I have my lavender oat milk latte here.
Ooh, lavender oat milk. Wow.
Which, by the way, is wonderful because it perks you up and it calms you down at the same time. It's very, very strange.
That's
and
a nice
recommend
combo.
it. So
nice, very nice. Well, this just perks me up, and
nice.
I love it, and I have to drink it in this mug if I'm at home. This is my favorite mug.
Love that mug.
Yes, this comes from Scargo Pottery on Cape Cod, my favorite pottery place. If I drink it iced, though, then I get an iced. I pour espresso over ice, and I throw a tiny bit of sugar in the raw on there. For some reason, when I drink it cold, I like a little sweetener in there. But you know what? I could drink coffee all day long.
That's awesome. Yeah, me too. Me too. And you have a show, right? Don't you have a virtual coffee show?
Well, I do. That's right. Well, my daughter and I, since COVID started, have been doing a weekly show called Coffee, Coffee, Coffee. And that term comes from the show, The Gilmore Girls.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yes, my daughter and I have been doing a weekly conversation for an hour on Fridays. And we did put it on hiatus right now around the July 4th holiday, but we might bring it out again. But we've had it's an intergenerational conversation on all kinds of topics of the day and how people are handling this pandemic and then all the events of the day that have occurred since then. And it's been really interesting to share this time with her because she's living with us now and we didn't expect that. So it's been really eye-opening, and I've gotten to know all these other people in her life, and she's gotten to know people in my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
That's really great. Wow. Yeah. So when you're not doing coffee, you tell us a little bit about what you do as an entrepreneur, and also tell us about your show.
Sure. So as an entrepreneur, I've been for the last 20 or so years, I've been a career and executive coach. I help people try to find their happiest, most fulfilling place within their work. So whether they're looking for a new job, looking to change careers or make some sort of professional transition, or it could be that they're in a job and they're trying to make for a better life at work. I go into companies and also provide training or facilitation, things like that. So I've been doing that for a long time, working with groups and individuals. But then over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, I started a podcast called Work from the Inside Out. And I've been interviewing all kinds of interesting people, including yourself, who have made a variety of transitions in their own lives and their careers from, everything from being a musician to then becoming a marketing and social media consultant, or combining all of those things like you have done. And just talking to people about all the different decisions and twists and turns they've taken in their lives to find more meaningful and fulfilling pathways in their work life. And I do that because we spend pretty much most of our waking hours at work in our lives. And it seems to me that there's a lot of people out there who are not feeling fully engaged or all that happy with what they're doing day to day.
Right.
And it's not about that you have to, do the grind as much as it makes me unhappy to see so many people unhappy. And so I've made it my life's work to help people find their way to something that's happier and more fulfilling and meaningful. And usually that has to do with work, simply because that's where we're spending most of our waking hours.
Sure. I love that.
Yeah.
So what advice, and of course, as entrepreneurs, very often we take for granted that, you know, we're happy in our work, but that's not always true, first of all, right? Because, you know, we get burned out too. We get tired. We end up in situations that we may not be doing the right thing.
Right.
What advice do you have to somebody who is an entrepreneur who might be not so happy right now?
Great question. So I would say, you know, take a good look at the things that you love about what you do, and take a good things at those things you don't love. Think about what you have control over and what you don't. Why did you become an entrepreneur? Are those things that you want to hold on to? And a lot of times people become entrepreneurs because they want to continue doing something, or want to start doing something that they really love to do. The part of it they often don't love to do might be the business side of it. So the question is, can you get some help? You know, I think some people start all this and they think they have to do it all on their own. So think about, where can you get help, or where can you develop some alliances or relationships so that you can learn what you need to know and figure out where you can either get help or make some of those things a little easier to do. My guess is most people who do go that route want to continue to do it in some way, but they might need to develop those relationships to help them make it more enjoyable. And sometimes just being engaged with other people can make it more enjoyable. But for example, I've always wanted to be self-employed, always. And I found over the years, for example, like I could do my own bookkeeping. I have those skills. I have an MBA. I know how to do accounting and all those things. But that's not something I really enjoy doing. I'd rather work and make a little extra money and pay someone else to do my bookkeeping. Or there are other things. There are aspects of doing a podcast, for example, that are very technical, and it's not really my strength. I could probably learn how to do it and figure it out, but I pay someone else to help me with those things so that I'm freed up to enjoy the parts of podcasting that I enjoy. So I always say, you know, find a way to engage other people in the things that maybe aren't as enjoyable for you. And then you can work harder or work smarter at the things you love to do. And that way you're helping other people earn a living at what they enjoy doing, and you get to do what you like to do. I know it sounds simple, but I think we do have a hard time asking for help when we need it. Just one other quick example is that what I've also done on occasion is, when I need something, sometimes I'll come across somebody who is still building their career, but they have, let's say, a skill set that I need help with. So I might barter with them. So I might give them some coaching services, and in turn, they're going to give me something I need. So you can't see what's going on behind me on the floor and maybe in some of the other shelving here. But one of the people that I barter with is a professional organizer, because she has this sense of how to organize things, and she has a sense of spatial relations and moving things around and organizing things. And so I give her some coaching to help her build her business, because that's not her strength. And she helps me keep my office, you know, organized. So that works out great too. So there's lots of ways to get the help you need. And sometimes you don't have to do it spending cash. You can find other creative ways to do that.
Right. And you know, the thing about bartering is, some people are like, well, but does that, you know, what if one person doesn't hold up their end of the bargain or whatever? You know, I've bartered with people before too, and we have a contract. I mean, you know, like we put something in writing. We even if it's just a series of emails, you know, something that, you know, we have our agreement, we honor it as if we've been paid.
Yeah.
You know, and then we both make sure that we both get what we wanted out of the relationship.
That's right. Yeah, you have to be very clear about what the agreement is. You know, and as a coach, you know, a big part of coaching is accountability. So that's automatically built into the way that I do the work I do. My clients count on me to hold them accountable or to
Mhm.
build in systems of accountability with them. So if I don't walk the talk with a barter, then I'm not really doing what I was hired to do as a coach either.
Mm.
So, occasionally sometimes these things can get a little messy, but that's what happens with people anyway
Yeah.
sometimes. So, there are times where we have to kind of take a step back, look at how we're doing it, and maybe come up with a new agreement. That happens occasionally, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I've learned how to sort of tighten up those kinds of relationships a little bit, but and also not to do too many barters at the same time because it can get a little out of control.
True. And I think I think that's in line with what a lot of us do anyway, right? We might take too many things on. We might,
Yes.
make ourselves too busy or whatever the case is. So,
Yeah.
um, and it's great. I mean, I know as an entrepreneur myself, it took me a really long time to get it through my head that I needed to hire help, right? I should have hired help at least 3 months before I did.
Yeah.
And then it took another 3 or 6 months after the fact to say, okay, I'm hiring my second person, right? So what you're saying is valuable for everybody.
Right, right. And it's true. And it, because it's your business, it's different than if you had been in, a company or under an employer and you were told, oh, you have to hire this employee or staff person. It feels different when you're hiring your first person or your second person, and it may be a contractor and you're not even sure exactly how many hours you need yet. So there's all kinds of decisions you have to make, and you almost have to have a little bit of a crystal ball. You have to know
Mhm.
what you're going to need. And so these are almost like learning to use muscles you haven't used yet, So it takes time to kind of figure those things out. And I think you have to make those kinds of arrangements and agreements with people so that you have some flexibility and there's an understanding about communicating clearly with one another so that you really understand what you need and they understand what you need, and making that a good working relationship.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful advice for everybody, especially now. I mean, if you're in a position to hire somebody
Yeah.
during COVID, wow, what a blessing that is.
And I actually did do that recently, and it has changed the way I'm able to work and enjoy my work because I was able to find somebody who really, really is really good, and is really able to take the ball and run with it, and it's just wonderful,
That's
wonderful.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is
So, but it still requires good communication. I can't say that enough. So even I always say this when you first ask the question about, advice for entrepreneurs, I would say always make sure that you watch whatever expectations and assumptions you're operating under and always check them twice,
awesome.
because when you expect that something's going to go a certain way or you assume that somebody's going to do something, it's okay to double check a little bit without sounding like you're doubting yourself or someone else, but just for clarity's sake, because I find that when our expectations are dashed or our assumptions are wrong, it can put us into a little bit of a tailspin, and it can affect how we go about business.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and following up is just good practice. I mean, I know I've caught myself, not having followed up on a project and assuming that whoever it is just
yeah,
knew what they were supposed to do, and then we come to the realization, weeks later that they didn't,
yeah,
and they didn't know, and I didn't know, right? And that's something that, of course, it's not the end of the world, right?
no,
But
no.
it's something that could have been avoided for sure.
Right. Right. Or I thought they understood what I asked them to do, or I thought they understood something about my business, and then something got posted publicly and was put out there. And then when I see it, I'm thinking, oh, no, that's not it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then do I take it down? Do I edit it? Do I not? there's all kinds of then decisions you have to make, and, and then having to have the conversation. And fortunately, I'm working with someone now who's very open to that kind of feedback, and it's going beautifully. But again, having those agreements ahead of time really helps so that you can have that clear communication. It makes all the difference in the world.
And what I'm also hearing is that, you the other person in the relationship, like, you both have a feedback loop, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's very, very important, and knowing how to communicate that and also how to receive that
Yes.
on the other end is
Yeah.
extremely important.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, Marie, that and I've been talking to clients about this a lot, especially clients who are working remotely now for the first time. But I think it's also important in our role as entrepreneurs when we're hiring people. And that is to just check in with people and say, how are you doing? So even though we hire people to help us, it's yes, it's about us and getting our needs met and paying someone to help us. But I also think that it's very important to just stop and just look someone in the eye and just say, so, how are you? What's
Yeah.
going on? Not to pry, not to get too personal or anything, but, we are talking to each other in each other's homes now, you
Yeah.
know, with each other's, cats walking across the screen, or, children showing up in the backgrounds, or, we're in each other's homes now, and it's different. It is different, even though
Yeah.
we're just trying to conduct business. And so I think even those of us who are accustomed to working from home, it's still not the same.
No, you're
So,
absolutely right. It's very different.
yeah. And I think it just adds something very important to just sort of stop and just make sure that you have that reciprocity, and that you just sort of say, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Or, anything I can do to help you. Because even if they don't need anything, or they say, oh, no, 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 they'll remember how that left them feeling. They'll know that you care. And it's not, you don't pay it lip service. You better mean it. But, it makes a difference. It really,
Yeah.
we have to be humans first.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know, you know, when a client asks how I'm doing, you know, even if I never tell them, oh, this is going on, that's going on, or even if I just say good, thanks,
Yeah.
it automatically, just in a split second, changes the relationship
It
for the better.
does.
No matter what's going on, if they say, how are you doing? Or, is everything okay right now? Or, how are you getting through the pandemic? That kind of thing. Just even hearing that is like, okay, all right, this is another human being,
Yeah.
right? I can trust them. They can trust me. We can have that rapport,
Yeah.
and that just automatically, so you're absolutely, it's funny. It sounds simple, but it's so important.
And it kind of ripples out. Like I every once in a while I'll have a client. I mean, I'm a coach, so I'm always about the client. But once in a while I'll have a client who will look at me and they'll say, well, how are you doing? And I can almost feel myself almost melting just a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost taking the coach hat off a little bit.
Right.
And not that I'm gonna, I mean, I'm usually fine. So it's not like I have something I'm hiding, but it does give you a little bit of permission to just say, oh, well, we had some really good takeout last night, or gee, this happened or that happened, or I heard about a neighbor, or whatever it is. But it does, there's something about the carryover from those interactions that can really it just does something that I think makes a difference
Yeah.
beyond
No, I
business,
agree.
beyond business,
I agree, because we're people first,
Yeah.
and as entrepreneurs, we're many of us are solopreneurs, right? We're the one person at the horcrux of the whole thing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so I love that. I love that
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I wouldn't give this up for the world, this entrepreneurial life, even though it has its ups and downs, and it can go sideways sometimes. And during the pandemic, it's been, challenging in so many ways. And yet, um, I hear people all the time say, oh, I want to be in control of my own schedule. That's the first thing I hear when someone says they want to open up their own business. And I say, be careful what you wish for, because let me tell you, you're going to be getting emails from me that say 2 o'clock in the morning. Is that how you want to work?
Yeah.
You are in control, but it's a very different in control.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I love it, but it really is, it's a different life. And I recommend it for people who really want to be in control.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. You're right. I mean, I know one of the sort of modicums of control that I have is that I put up my away message every weekend, because I know that my clients are working on their blogging and everything else on the weekend. So they're emailing me, but I know that I'm going to be away. Right. So that's like one of the things that I put in place.
Right.
It took me 4 years to learn that.
Wow.
It took me 4 years to be like, oh, I could put my away message on and everybody would expect not to hear from me this weekend.
Right.
But it's a learning process. And it's also, it's not for, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
No, but what your clients are getting is on Monday, when that away message goes away, they're getting the best of you and what they need.
Exactly.
Because you created some boundaries around that.
Exactly.
And some of us need to still learn that sometimes.
Well, I still need to take my own medicine sometimes,
right.
As I'm sure you do, like we're human, right? So this is not a perfect system, and we're still just the people behind the curtain,
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I love that. So what do you wish you knew? What do you wish you knew when you started your business that you know now?
I wish I knew, well, there's two things. Well, I wish Dory Clark and the recognized expert community existed when I started. That would have been so helpful.
Oh my gosh, Dory's the best.
I know.
That community is the best.
And everything that she's created around that, and that just that camaraderie and that sense of how you build a business and how you build a brand. So I think that I think that I wish that I had known more about how to build a brand and how to put a message out. But on the other hand, I will say that when I started, a lot of the tools that we have available to us now didn't exist. So, I could say I wish I had those things, but I probably couldn't have had them anyway, or not in the way that I would have. So, I did a really pretty good job building the business as I did. I intended to build it as a referral only business, and that's exactly what I did.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I never really got into advertising or doing any of that. I did a little bit. It never really worked. But I think that if I knew a little bit more about perhaps content creation and saw myself more as a writer back then, maybe I would have done a little more of that. So I'm doing it now, and it's great.
And it's never too late, it's never too late to start creating content.
No.
And, at what I find is that it happens at the right time. It happens when you're ready for it. And it's, like, it's like starting a podcast, whenever you start is good.
That's right. That's right. And it is good. Really.
Yeah. I mean, I'm biased, but I love your podcast.
Oh, so. Thank you. Well, I love it too. I mean, it's just a ton of fun. It's so, it's fun to talk to so many different people, and it's fun to share their stories and to celebrate all these different lives of all these people who have really done some amazing things to improve their lives and really to touch so many other people's lives in the process. It's just so, it's really so cool. I love doing it.
No, it's awesome. I love listening to your podcast. So
Thank
how can
you.
people listen to your podcast?
Well, they can find Work from the Inside Out on, they can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. They can go to my website and look it up there at www.tammygoolerloeb.com, which is a mouthful, but there is no other Tammy Gooler Loeb out there. So if you even start to type even if you type Tammy Goo, you'd probably find it. And that's the best way to find it, really. I mean, even if you do workfromtheinsideout.com, you would find it. So yeah, that's the best way to find me.
I have to say, I also have a mouthful of a name. And that's actually a benefit because there's no mistaking me for anybody else, right? Same
Right,
with you. There's no mistaking
right.
you for anybody else,
That's
right?
right. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's a good
It can
thing.
be a little annoying at times, when people mangle it, but oh well, I'll deal with it.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today. And
Thank you for having me, Marie. It's always delightful talking to you.
oh my gosh, anytime. You're welcome back anytime. And
Thanks.
thank you to those of you who are watching and who will watch later. And of course, this has been brought to you by Restream. And we will see you next time.